Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy New Year. It's been a crazy 2024. There have been good moments, and there have certainly been bad moments. Today, I'm going to talk to you about an uncomfortable topic. Some of you may have known my ex-fiance, Mike Felber. And it's with a heavy heart that I'm going to let you know that he has passed away under unfortunate circumstances. He unalived himself. It was really painful to hear this because he was always a very good person, a very sweet person, and he cared about so many other people. He cared about people, and their well-being more than he cared about his own well-being a lot of times. So I just think that it's important to talk about this, and I think it's important that we all make sure that we check on one another and try to make peace with one another, no matter how upset you might be with somebody. If the circumstances aren't really that bad, you really should try to make amends with people. So I heard Mike had a Love Life initiative. I think he was, putting stickers around the area, and I'd like to get these stickers reprinted and maybe pass them out to most of his friends, and we can try to put the stickers everywhere because loving life is very important. I love my life now, and as sad as it was when Mike and I parted ways, I have to say that if we didn't part ways, I wouldn't have this beautiful life I have now. I'm surrounded by a lot of friends and family. I have a beautiful son that I never thought I would have. I'm friends with a lot of people in the music and comedy industry, and I feel like I'm networking more than I ever have, and I'm really proud of the progress I've made as a human being in general ever since. I was immature at one time, and I had my issues too, but we do our best to overcome a lot of these things, and I know I have. So I want to get into it. It's a love story in a way, It's me and Mike's love story and how things turned out and how things ended and how I handled my life afterwards, and how despite the difficulties I had faced, I needed to go through those difficulties so I could be a strong woman who could take care of a child and a family. I hear my son in the other room. He's so cute. So anyway, here I go. I'm going to read my article because, I know a lot of people don't have time to read, and sometimes it's better to listen. And I don't like doing off-the-cuff things too often like this because I have PTSD because my fiance unalived himself when I was in my early 20s. This is a different situation. And I also went through a great deal of domestic violence throughout my life, so maybe my story will help other people too. I hope it can. And here we go. I never thought I would be reading this. I never thought I would be trying to bring healing to a community in Mike's name, but I'm happy to do it because he deserves it. So anyway, If you got 'em, smoke 'em, you know. This is some heavy stuff. Feel free to pour yourself a shot, you know, or have a beer or something, or just sit here and be sober and listen. Whatever makes you happy. I'm going to try my best not to cry because I've cried a lot, and with the condition that I have, I go through major torture when I cry. Like I was congested for like 3 whole days just because I cried, so I don't want to appear emotionless, and I'm sure that I'm going to have a hard time getting through this, but I'm going to try my best not to cry so I don't feel like crap. At least I don't want to feel like I have a cold for the rest of the week. It doesn't help my mental health at all. So Mike and Sandra, a love story. On the day I met Mike, we connected on Facebook after a mutual friend recommended his artistry to me. I was eager to meet him. At the time, I was modeling frequently and saw an artist who could assist me with modeling and body painting. We had an enjoyable day together, and after completing my project, we became more intimate than I anticipated. We immediately connected. We bonded over music, particularly the Saint Anger album by Metallica, which I found surprising given that most of my acquaintance disliked it. Mike was sensitive and kind. He was never intimidating. He was simply a creative and affectionate soul. This was evident right from the beginning and remained consistent throughout our relationship. After some cuddling, Mike invited me to a party to introduce me to his friends. When the party concluded, he asked me to be his girlfriend, which felt like the most enchanting union of my life. Mike and I spent a considerable amount of time together creating music and collaborating on intriguing art projects. We frequently resided at each other's homes, and our lives gradually intertwined. We hosted numerous barbecues and parties where numerous individuals met and developed enduring friendships and partnerships, some of which who even have kids today. I vividly recall a party where we had distinct musical and entertainment options in each room of our house. We enjoyed preparing meals, snacks, desserts, and more for our friends. We cherished our outings together and attended many concerts together, particularly those featuring our favorite bands Metallica, Mike's preferred band, and Megadeth, my own. Mike and I shared fondness for cats and created playful nicknames for each other, Min and Mo, occasionally Minimo or Maumina. We were highly playful. We kind of referred to each other as cat nicknames. I still kind of use those nicknames to today, but it all started, because we both absolutely loved and adored cats. Later down the road, I actually ended up naming my cats Min and Mo. I guess I really must have missed him,
Hi, Rear.
Hi, Rear.
Oh, my mouth.
Malmalicious. Malmalicious.
Rear.
Malmana.
Mama.
Coming to you live from the whole show at Wellmont Theater. All right.
Mouth.
Mike was one of the few people to embrace my admiration for Courtney Love. We once attended a concert where we presented her with flowers. After the performance, we had the opportunity to meet her, and she expressed her utmost appreciation for us. What a memorable day. I have to say, I think she kind of flirted with Mike, too. It's kind of funny. She signed a record for both of us. I still have it. It's the Nobody's Daughter record, and it is addressed to Mike first and me next. So, all right, this stuff's rough to talk about. I mean, and some of it's gonna sound silly, but ultimately it was rough for me. And I think it was rough for Mike, too. Throughout our relationship, we encountered various challenges. One notable incident occurred at a party when I made an insensitive remark that caused awkwardness. A suggestion to watch Ghostbusters prompted me to ask if the DVD belonged to a friend who had vented to me that the DVD was stolen by this particular group of people. Now, Mike had nothing to do with it. It was pretty much my understanding, the owner of the home. But other people kind of knew about it and were laughing about it and joking about it from what I understood. Okay? I don't know the real story behind it, but it just really bothered me. I wasn't that type of person. I used to give away my Barbie dolls when I was a kid, and I used to try to be like, Miss Save the Day, Miss Spread Joy, and I didn't really understand why somebody would steal somebody's fucking Ghostbusters DVD. I'm sorry, but I didn't like it. The guy was nice to me. So all I knew, was that this guy had gotten his DVD stolen, and I blurted it out like an idiot. I don't know why I did that. And then I just remember the host being like, "No." And it was like all these people were staring at me. It felt like the music stopped. I have some pictures from that night, and that was the big night where, stuff got awkward, I suppose, Things happen. What are you going to do? The host clarified that it was not, leading to a tense exchange, and everyone in the room was staring at me. Yeah, it was seriously like fucking crickets. It was wild. I just shouldn't have said anything. Why'd I say that out loud? Why is everybody staring at me? I was so fucking embarrassed. But kind of annoyed at the same time. I was kind of annoyed at the same time. It seemed like these people definitely stole my friend's DVD at that point. I don't know what to say other than I felt bad vibes that night. It was just really strange. I did feel like I heard some whispers and giggles after I had said that. It was just really strange. It was awkward, and I guess things could be worse in life. They definitely can be, but at the time, that was like the worst thing ever. I wasn't really sure I wanted to go back to their parties anymore, but I loved Mikey, so it was really a very tough thing to say. Hey. Good night, baby. I wasn't sure I wanted to go back to their parties anymore, but I loved Mikey, so it was a tough thing to say. I knew feeling this way would come off as controlling. I just wanted to be surrounded by honest and honorable people. This incident contributed to growing animosity between us, exacerbated by Mike's ex-girlfriend's subsequent disdain for me because she was at a lot of the parties, and I'm friends with my exes. I really didn't have a problem with the fact that they were exes. It was just a really weird situation, guys. This is how I remember it. I don't have any hate for anybody. I was, really immature at the time. I should have just not cared so much, but I was young and I was still learning, and I just felt like people were trying to get in the middle of our relationship, and it just seemed kind of weird, really, you guys are mad at me because I brought up the Ghostbusters DVD from our mutual friend that was a little bit unstable. That's what it felt like. That's how I remember it. This was the next thing that kind of sucked. During Thanksgiving with his parents, my shyness and picky eating habits resulted in limited consumption of food at their home. Despite my efforts to be polite and expressing my gratitude to his parents upon our departure, the weirdness ensued. While his father was cordial, his mother disregarded me and instructed Mike to say hello to his ex-girlfriend, expressing her fondness for her and how she missed her. And I had just dealt with that weird moment a couple of weeks prior at that party, so I was just kind of hurt. Feeling hurt and neglected, I kind of stormed off. I contemplated the reasons behind my mistreatment. Was it because of my stupid comment at that party a few weeks earlier? Was I in the Twilight Zone? Was it because I didn't eat their ham? My God, I hate ham. Just the other day, we had a ham. I made other things, but we had a ham for Christmas, and I was like, This ham is going to be a disaster. I mean, nobody else thought so, but I just don't like ham, so. Was it because I didn't eat their ham, I wondered, recalling my aversion to the dish? I'm sorry, it's just the truth. It's so ridiculous. This self-doubt intensified my fears of inadequacy, which was so silly. That's why you see me laughing at this point, like I was running away and going home because she said something about his ex-girlfriend, and it really was rough. I mean, that's meet the parents is the first time, and then it's like, it was just awkward, I don't know. It was a tough thing for a young woman like me at the time to understand, and a tough pill to swallow, that was for sure. Once again, it was crucial to recognize that these were not Mike's actions. He genuinely cared for me. Why did I place such emphasis on the opinions of others? Mike consistently treated me with love and respect, referring to me as his Mrs. Cloudy. And we had the tattoos, Mr. and Mrs. Cloudy, to prove that. He attempted to gently help me with my organizational skills, emphasizing the importance of placing everything in its designated location. Every place has its thing, and everything has its place, he used to say to me, While I still grapple with these concepts, I acknowledge his efforts to enhance my abilities. We actively participated in political and social activism, particularly during the BP oil spill. In response, we initiated a Boycott BP campaign. We placed Boycott BP stickers everywhere that we could. Mike relished taking on such initiatives, and I found great enjoyment in collaborating with him. Our partnership exemplified a harmonious blend of love and purpose. Our shared leftist ideals and hippie philosophy created an aura of enhancement and unity in our lives. A few years into our relationship, we organized a memorable winter trip to New York City to see the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center and visit strawberry fields to honor the anniversary of John Lennon's passing. We brought along 8 friends, sneaking some blackberry brandy and some joints. That night, Mike asked me to marry him. He didn't have an engagement ring at the time, but I happily accepted. Jewelry has never meant much to me, so it wasn't significant that he proposed without one. Our engagement had its ups and downs. We threw a large party to celebrate, attended by many of our friends and family. On that day, Mike presented me with a black diamond ring in front of everyone, making it feel like a storybook fantasy. Even that day, he had faced a challenge, getting a flat tire and needing a ride from a friend, but we still had a great time dancing to Promises by Megadeth. Now the song holds an eerie new meaning for me. The lyrics to the chorus say, "I will meet you in the next life, I promise you. Where we can be together, I promise you. I will wait till then in heaven, I promise you. I promise, I promise." God, what the fuck, man? That was a crazy foreshadowing. We received various gifts at our engagement party. Most of them are still in my home today. Not a day goes by where I don't think of him. I have many of his homemade gadgets here, and a lot of our kitchenware was chosen together. Our selections were very ornate, over the top, and colorful. My band uses one of his 5-string bass guitars, which was one of the guitars we bought together as a couple to embody our vision of true love and artistry. After that magical moment, we gradually returned to reality. Mike started facing tougher times and struggled to hold down a job due to personal demons and bad habits. They weren't drugs. It was just a totally different thing. But it's pretty personal, so I'm not going to put it out there. These financial issues and challenges took a toll on our relationship, and we began to bicker. Eventually, I encouraged him to downsize and move in with me and my family. We loved living together, but my family started to put a strain on our relationship. We began to consider an exit path. Fortunately, we found solace in a friend who wanted us to room with her, which would only cost us $125 more per month. We were excited about this opportunity and started making our move. However, shortly after we moved into our new apartment, Mike found himself on unemployment almost right away. He struggled with personal demons at work that he could not control. He collected unemployment benefits and managed to find another job within a few months. Unfortunately, he was only able to keep that job for a few weeks before those same demons resurfaced and took over again. This situation was particularly scary for me because it was my first time living on my own, and I often worried about where the money would come from. I had a small piano teaching job, and I wasn't sure I could support us on that income alone. A few years later, I became financially stable enough to support a family of 3, which obviously too late. I mean, he was already gone. But back then, that kind of stability felt like a distant dream. While Mike was on unemployment for the second time, I tried to encourage him to enroll in art shows and galleries. He sold paintings at many of these events, and I always felt he should pursue an artistic career. I believed it would be worth the effort, even though it required a lot of work to keep producing and moving his art. Unfortunately, he often lacked the confidence and ambition to enter these events, which made me feel deeply sorry for him. He had so much talent. And, I hope at least he got his art out there a lot more, last couple of years, because he deserved to put it out on display, and he deserved a lot of accolades for those art pieces. One day I confided in my cousin about the struggles we were facing. The ongoing bickering took a toll on us, primarily revolving around money and responsibility. The magic that we once shared had been diminished by financial stress, which felt contradictory to our identities as starving artists. Yet we needed a roof over our heads, right? Returning to my mom's house was not an option, and Mike's mom seemed eager to have him move back in with her, which I felt was primarily because she didn't like me and wanted to help him out. I shared all of this with my cousin, who then took him out to Starbucks and told him to move all of his stuff out of my house while I was at work because I no longer loved him. When I eventually saw Mike, I saw answers. We had a horrible argument on that last day. He believed my cousin and was hurt that I had shared so much with a family member. He was angry, and our argument escalated into an all-out brawl, which was never characteristic of our relationship. I mean, that was a nutty day. It was just a lot of screaming and I'm going to leave, I'm not going to leave. A lot of craziness. We were young, and what are you going to do? I tried my best to win him back. For an entire month, I left a love note and a craft beer on his doorstep every day. The last time I left him a special beer, he came out and told me he couldn't take me back and that I didn't need to keep leaving beer for him. I told him I would always love him, and he replied that he would always love me too. And after that, I walked away and drove home, and I never really saw him again. I was really devastated from all that. I mourned the loss of Mike a long time ago. I completely changed after that. It was bad. It was really rough on me. I don't ever think I dealt with the emotions that I felt because I cared so much about him, and I tried to do everything I could for him and make things work, and I don't know. It was probably just because he couldn't handle the bills and he couldn't handle another person, but I didn't understand that. I kind of always thought he could have left me with a couple of dollars. I was kind of broke and starving after the whole situation. Nowhere to go, and it sucked. It really sucked. It was a really tough time for me. And it was my first time out of the house, and I had only planned to pay utilities, and he had been on his own already, so he was used to paying the rent, and used to paying around that amount for rent. I think it was he used to pay more than the amount that we were paying, and so I kind of thought of we would be all right, and I thought I'd get utilities and maybe some food and we'd figure it out, but that was how I thought it was going to work out number wise, and that it was just really difficult, but I'm grateful for, everything I have now, and I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to get into some unflattering things about myself too. Cuz why the fuck not? Put it out there, right? Following our breakup, I went down a path of self-destruction. I didn't resort to drugs or anything like that. Instead, I tried to find the same magic in just any man, hoping that someone would have me. I cut off all my long, beautiful hair. I needed to downsize my life in my room, which was brutal for me. I was used to having, a lot of space. My roommate, who became quite obsessive compulsive, made me often feel like I couldn't go home. I worked very hard, but I was starving all the time and never had enough money for food or socialization. I started spending time with a different crowd because half of my friends no longer cared to see me after I moved away. I began shutting off my emotions and I focused solely on survival. Over the next few months, I met various people, including my ex-husband, Ray. He was the complete opposite of Mike, a jock, a man's man, a Republican. Our values didn't align at all, but I thought that was perfect. I believed being with someone so different from Mike would make him jealous. I acted like a naive little girl. I thought maybe, if I get with this guy and everybody hears about it, maybe Mike will want me back. I don't know. That was stupid. But, I was again young and naive, and I wasn't really seasoned in relationships, so one can hope, but he ain't care. You could just tell, I'm barely even happy in this picture. It's like I'm dead behind the eyes. When I say I rushed into this relationship and marriage, I truly mean it. I married Ray on the same day that Mike and I originally had planned to get married. Yeah. I was so hurt by the end of my relationship with Mike that I couldn't see what I was doing, even though everybody else around me could. I was signing my life away to someone I barely knew, driven by the desire to get back at Mike and make him jealous. Unfortunately, I soon became a victim of severe domestic violence. It all happened so fast. I don't even know. I just made bad decisions because I was so clouded by all of the love I had lost. All because some asshole took my boyfriend to Starbucks and ruined my relationship. Let's just be frank. I mean, things were going wrong, but I wanted to get him help, and that's why I turned to my family member. I just wanted him to guide me or guide both of us. We were close. I thought all of us were close and good friends, and I thought we were going to get through this. I mean, I was committed. I was ready. I was just upset. I wanted help. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't talk to professionals at that point. I talked to a family member. I didn't know a family member would do that to me. But it was all for the best. I know I seem upset about it, but it was all for the best. So anyway, I was in the marriage. In the midst of all this, I became pregnant with my son Johnny. I survived hell and gave birth to my child. Afterward, I snapped a photo of myself holding my new son and sent it to Mike, who wished me nothing but happiness. I did this in a slight moment of bitterness. I thought to myself that I was sending him that photo to show him that I finally had the baby that we never got to have together, hoping to hurt his feelings. It was a pretty pathetic move. I was really that hurt, and that's how I expressed my hurt and pain. I'm not proud of it, but that's just I I was so hurt. I don't, every villain has a backstory, right? I used to send Merry Christmas to everybody. I used to spend, like 45 minutes texting every single person every Christmas. And I used to spread, joy and smiles to people all of the time. And I was a completely different person at one time. And this loss really changed me a lot. It really did. Despite everything, I cherished my time with my son and eventually secured an affordable home of my own. I learned the value of hard work while supporting a family of 3. A few years into my abusive relationship with Ray, I found the strength to leave him and take my son with me. Now I do everything that I can to help victims of domestic violence, and I am genuinely grateful to Mike despite all of the horrors I faced. And I mean that. I've grown so much stronger than I ever was before. I have a beautiful child and friends and family who love me deeply. If Mike had not let me go, I would still be a weak, small-minded girl. You should never want to start a new relationship just to hurt someone. I can't explain why I acted so foolishly and messed up back then. My heart was so broken that I made poor choices in an attempt to feel better and survive the worst mental trauma I could face. Mike was my first true love, and he was gone forever. I was so blinded by it all. I am truly grateful for the life lessons that this entire experience has taught me. I will continue to advocate for my fellow victims of domestic violence and spread messages of love, joy, and art in Mike's name. I will keep checking in on my friends, hoping that they are okay and well. I will smile at others to brighten their day. I really mean that, guys. I'm going to do my best. Over the past few years, I have heard that Mike has shared some positive stories about our time together, which made me happy. I hope he would be proud of me today in the progress I have made in my life. I hope he knew how much I have grown. Becoming a mother changed everything for me, even altering some of my political beliefs. I have transformed my identity in a significant way. With Mike, I left Sandy behind. I'm not Sandy anymore. Today I'm Rose. If I could talk to Mike today, I would sincerely apologize for sharing our private matters with my cousin. I also want to express my regret for rushing into a new relationship all of those years ago just to spite him. When I heard that he said that if he had married me, that we would have had kids by now, I wish I could have responded, yes, Mikey, we would have had kids, and you would have been a better father than Ray. They would have had blonde hair and blue eyes just like you. I regret that we didn't make it. I regret that he didn't make it. And I hope that he can finally rest in peace. I'm sorry I never got the chance to say goodbye or share a laugh about how silly and in love we once were. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. And if you're ever in love with somebody the way I was in love with Mike, don't give up. Obviously, give them space if they tell you, there's no way you guys could get back together. But if you have mutual friends, never hurts to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Can you tell him I'm thinking about him? I wish I did that. Anyway, love you guys. And I hope you have a happy new year.